Good morning, everybody. It took me so long for the little scroll thing. I was decided to take a drink of my lemonade. Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to look at the transits for the week ahead and to do an angel card reading and pull a tarot card for each sign. This video is based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about a sign, I'm referring to it as dictating the first house, the rising sign. And every time zone that I talk about is in the Pacific. So please adjust for your location. There's some things going on. Uranus is stationing to go retrograde the beginning of September, literally the 1st of September. On that very same day, Pluto will move back into Capricorn. Now, while that's a few weeks off, we're going to start feeling it this week because Jupiter and Saturn are squaring off. Good morning, Margie. Welcome. And this is a significant transit because this is the first of three. Saturn is currently retrograde. Jupiter is moving forward. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces. Jupiter is in Gemini. This is significant because Pisces rules deception. It rules things that are in secret, things that happen behind closed doors. Saturn rules government, authority, structure, tradition, history. These are unprecedented times right now. We are literally making history as we relive history's dynamics. Good morning, Catherine. And I think that our awareness of what we're walking through will help us to be lighthouses during what potentially may feel like a pretty ravaged storm. Okay, so Lucky's made an appearance. Let me grab my notes real quick. Okay, so Jupiter squaring Saturn this week is significant because Mars has been conjunct Jupiter. Mars is, frustration, anger, aggression in the sign of Gemini. We're talking about the media, communications, journalism. I mean, we see it all over the place right now. Now, I think this is cool because as I was taking my shower this morning, I felt like Spirit was saying, show them how these things are playing out in your everyday life. So I want to offer it this way because the idea of Jupiter squaring Saturn is giving us an opportunity to really think about what kind of expansion we want, how we want to make our money, how we want to feel a sense of flow, our ideologies, our philosophies, the things we've come to know as that are just and fair is literally in square to the planet that rules historic government and authority and giving us an opportunity to discern from a Piscean place, from our intuitive oversoul, literally combining the physical with the metaphysical to see how these structures are out of balance. And as we start to trust ourselves and we start to find community on platforms like this on Sunday mornings, I personally have found a platform on TikTok that has really inspired my patriotism because it's so much following the guidelines of our Constitution. Everyone has a voice. Everyone is accepted. The whole room is just awesome. But I think all this is reflected in this transit of Jupiter going through Gemini, bringing justice to the neighborhood. There's a sense of Mars as it's conjunct, wanting to pioneer into new thoughts, pioneer into new ways of being. Now, this doesn't happen easily because initially there is that clash of Mars's frustration and anger. So Mars and Jupiter are making this square. This happens all week. Now, one of the other reasons why I think this is significant is because this is the week of the Democratic National Convention. And having Saturn going through Pisces and having Saturn rule government, I think this is giving us an opportunity for everywhere to listen with a discerning ear. We have Venus also in opposition to Saturn. Venus is in Virgo. This is another, this kind of rings back to that Gemini energy because both Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury. Mercury is retrograde right now. Mercury is giving us an opportunity to really review what we're hearing, what we're thinking, how it's affecting our money, our sense of self-confidence moving forward to thrive. And I think these are all really important because there is a T-square going on. So we've got Venus over here in Virgo. We've got her in opposition to Saturn. So let's just say this is about my money because Virgo rules our work. It rules, our health, and our health is directly related to our sense of thriving, and it rules our stress, the stresses of everyday life in opposition to Saturn, and both planets are making a focal point to Jupiter and Mars. Such a significant T-square because tomorrow's full moon, and I made a separate video for that, so please check that out, is at 27 degrees of Aquarius. And I think that's really powerful because the focal point of that full moon is Uranus. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. This is so literally, I think people are going to start seeing things from a whole new way. I think people are going to start listening from I want to take the idea that Uranus rules Aquarius. It's not emotional per se. Rather than being emotional, it's more intellectual because it's researching and figuring out things to move the story forward in the future, looking out to space where it's willing to be in the unknown as an observer and an explorer, and therefore cannot be attached too much to the emotional dynamic. So the focal point of the full moon is an illumination about how we're seeing things for the cosmic consciousness, for the collective, for not just our country, but the countries that are affected by the choices that we make as individuals and as legislation and throughout our whole governmental system. And all this is playing out in the stars because that's what I think is on the docket. It's look, we're a few months away from this election, and to try to pretend that it doesn't affect our lives is ridiculous. I don't really want to talk about the candidates as individuals because I don't want to start anything unpleasant here. I want this to be a safe space, but for me to ignore that we're walking through this would be foolhardy, because we also have Venus throughout this whole week getting into a tighter and tighter square with Mars. And so by the 21st, funny, it will be at 21 degrees in a square. Venus will be at 21 degrees of Virgo. Mars will be at 21 degrees of Gemini. I think this is super significant because this plays back to, it's the Sagittarian degree, which plays back to Jupiter, which plays back to my philosophies, my ideologies. How are things running? How do I feel about, my belief system and all the branches thereof. Now, at the same time, we have Mercury that is going through this very powerful point of observation of my everyday lives, of the media that is I'm being pummeled with. The algorithms catch your likes, and so when you start to drift in an area, the media supports that. And if you're fear-based or you're worried, you'll bring in more of that. And when you're faith-based, you'll bring in more of that. And if you want to disconnect from it altogether, watch the cooking shows, watch the, dogs and the kitties. But my point is this is because as Uranus stations to go retrograde in Taurus, which rules the land, rules the food, rules your personal history. But your personal history is all affected by what is happening around us. So Mercury is giving us an opportunity to revisit things in sort of a tense way, because as I look to the future, there's a part of me that gets to look at things that have no experience behind them. And that's really important. Now, at the same time that Mercury is squaring Uranus, Venus is trining it. This happens on the 24th. And so this is important because this whole week, Venus also rules women. Let me finish my point about Venus and Virgo trining Uranus in Taurus, because this is a growing trine. This is important, I think, for money, for the feminine, for our ability to use our skills and thrive and prosper and expand. And I really feel with Venus in Virgo, she's focused in on money. She's not focused in on the sexy side of her at all. She's focused in on the practical side. She just doesn't want to be of service. She wants to have the resources to feel comfortable. Virgo likes to plan and strategize. And without the resources, which would be money, she could get a little nervous and overcompensate. So here, if we think about the idea that on the 19th, we have this full moon with Uranus as the focal point. Throughout the week, the square with Mercury is growing. We have the Venus and Virgo trine growing, and this is giving us an opportunity to look to the future and to use the illumination. And I want to offer this because the sun and the moon are in opposition in a full moon, but the moon itself is conjunct. Oh no, that's not true. That's not till later. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I finished all my videos for next month. So sorry, I started to get ahead of myself. But I want to just overall, the focal point this week is Venus, money, the feminine energy, the receptive energy, the creative energy, and where we are feeling something intuitively that may be counter, feeling contraction to what, how can I phrase this more? I'm trying to be sort of cryptic and broad and not sound like I'm taking sides, but I feel like honestly, this is a week of discernment. It's a week to look at my philosophies, what I believe is important, and does it line up with what the media and this particular DNC and the things that I'm going to hear this week with how I want my future to roll. I think this is an important time to discern and to have information and to sort of look beyond the character of somebody, but their ability to execute. I think that's super important. So, okay. And who knows, maybe the feminine will show up in a way this week that will look really stunning. Uranus pulls things out of nowhere. I think that's important because I think we're going into, well, we know we are, because Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn on the 1st of September, and it will stay there until November 19th. This is primary, the last few months of the political campaigning. We're going to see so much going on. So be mindful, for your own sanity as to, what you can take in, what you can't take in, the type of short bits of information. Be really mindful. So now let me tell you really quickly a little personal story of how this weirdness played out for me. Mercury rules siblings. Okay, so Mercury retrogrades bring back old things, old friends, old situations. Out of nowhere, my bio mom calls and leaves me some random weird message that feels very funky, and I have no interest in engaging. That's a whole other chapter. But so this prompts me to reach out to my sister out of nowhere after not speaking to her for, literally probably 7 years. And it was very weird because it also played out that we were talking about a grounding sheet. I told her about a grounding sheet. Now I want to tell you guys about this grounding sheet as well because it's freaking ridiculous. But during the conversation, I found out that my aunt passed away. Okay. And my sister thinks that my uncle killed her. I'm not laughing at her. It just makes me nervous to say it, because when I went back and I looked up my aunt's birthday and her chart, she has a stellium in Libra, and Mars was conjunct all of that stellium, which is a big stellium. She had like 5 planets in Libra. So it kind of made me feel like, whoa, maybe something did happen. But then, so that there's no substantial evidence to prove anything. So then we go back to the grounding blanket or the grounding sheet. I got to tell you guys, I got this on the Zon, and it was referred to me by a client. It is literally where you plug a sheet into the grounding part of the wall and you sleep on it. I've only slept on it for 4 nights, and I've gone from feeling 64 to feeling 24. Literally, my body has responded. This is an amazing thing. So look it up, because I think it's also the time slept on it. You could have a grounding mat and sit on it for a while, but it may not have the effects of sleeping on something. This is Uranus technology, in the house of comfort and Taurus home. So interesting. Oh my God, I can't even tell you how stunned I am at how I feel. I have a whole issue with from my right hip down to my toe, my big toe. And I think it has a lot to do with my foot and how my foot's not aligned. It doesn't sit flat. And then it affects my ankle, which then starts creeping up my leg. The very first night that I slept on this, the restless leg stopped, the achy toe stopped. I woke up in the morning, my foot felt flatter, and last night was night 4, and I can't even begin to tell you. So if you want to invest in your future, if you're, I think it's the most amazing thing. It was something that I feel like is going to save my aging process, because the ricketiness of this and the inflammation that it reduces is pretty amazing. Okay. Any questions, class? No, I'm kidding. But I have no sponsorship for this. I have no brand that I'm plugging. I just was my experience. So if you really, want to invest in, just literally, I could not believe how much better I felt. Okay, let's start our readings. I want to wish all my Leos a happy birthday, my late born Leos. Late rising. That's so interesting that you say that, Catherine, because I already have one in my cart on the Zon, and I've been pulling up after I love to make my bed because it looks so pretty, but I've been pulling it up the sheet, and so he's been sitting on it. And I have to tell you, this kid is reacting already. I mean, he's walking so fast down the street for 12 and a half years old. It's just blowing my mind. He's probably under the bed right now. Otherwise, I'd show you how great he's looking. Good morning, Queen Leo. Good morning, everybody, by the way. All right. So happy birthday for all my late-born Leos and all my Leos, period, because I might have forgotten to wish you a happy birthday. Let's jump in and start with you and see what your tarot card is for the week. Page of Cups, the offering of love, and also the offering of a bit of bounty. When you're offering the fish, you're offering something that is I want to say sustaining, but I mean it in the way of nourishment. Love is nourishment. So let's see where we're going with our Leos here. Susie, that's so funny. Probably because they feel it, they can feel it more intensely than we do. When I put Lucky on the bed, he lays for a minute, but then he seems to want to get up, but he always wants to eat. So who knows? All right, Leo, let's see. Our first angel is Patience. The second is Akasha, the counselor and the teacher. Then we have Daniel, the angel of relationships and the history of relationships. And then we have Grace and Antoinette. And that's all about seeing something from another person's point of view. All right. Patience and is being joined by the Queen. Now, we know that Venus is playing a big role this week. I actually think that Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus are the main characters in play. And I want to offer it this way because, we look at these planets as being outside of ourselves, which on some level they are, but they represent layers. And each planet represents a facet of our own personality. So if we look at Venus representing in Virgo, money, how we make our money, and we look at Saturn in Pisces, we could very much say that the opposition is, I don't know how my desires, my creativity, my dreams would actually create the bounty that I need. And then that focal point to Jupiter and Mars, while it can be frustrating, it would be an opportunity to really see where your thoughts are, your belief system is, and how you take action about that. Mars is very sketchy because Mars can actually use being pissed off and angry as a motivator. All right. So now we have the Queen joining Patience. We have the Cat joining Akasha. We have the Water Fairy joining Daniel. And we have the Grail Knight joining Grace and Antoinette. This is very much about the interaction with other humans. And I want to offer this too, because the Page of Cups is always sort of this innocent energy of, and when I say unconditional love, I mean that the page is not aware of the conditions. It's almost this youthful energy. It's sort of like when you're little and someone you love has something that's out of the norm. They have different color hair, or they are, let's say they're very Uranian and they like to have pink hair and wear loud clothes. And as a kid, you don't know any different. You just love that person no matter what. And then until you learn from other people that person is a little different, you don't have any conditions on that love. This is what the Page of Cups is talking about. Okay. And so there is this sort of innocence. Now, when we go to the foundational position of patience, observation of some kind, really synthesizing information. And there's the Queen. And the Queen, I think, is representing this Venus energy. I started off the broadcast saying that this week is really important to use the feminine energy to hear from a different place. We hear with our ears, but sometimes the truth lives in our gut. And I think that's exactly what's being offered here, okay, is not only to start to think, because I want to offer it this way. When I bring up the idea of there being no conditions, I mean it's sort of feeling like a neutral zone of some kind. And here we have this cat offering 9 lives. Yes, there's independence and healthy boundaries, and Akasha is the teacher. It's also the counselor. And if we look at the Page of Cups, it's very Piscean with that fish. So this is where I feel like that counsel is your inner being, your gut. And also sort of, to me, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I've been enjoying this broadcast, this live on TikTok. It's every day at between 3 and 9. And the reason I'm enjoying it is because I'm personally riveted that we are making history right now. Like, people are going to read about what happens right now in a big way. Like, honestly, we are changing things in such a huge way that, and this broadcast is so neutral. It's so it's so much like what the American Constitution wanted to be, where everyone has a voice and nobody's villainized for it. Now, my point of saying that is because it's important for y'all to be mindful of this loving energy and surrounding yourself with the kind of energy that is not like villainizing right now. There is, in the angel's advice, a history coming up. And Daniel definitely represents the history in marriage, but that marriage is based on a deeper history. And I think in many ways, there is something going on within your personal life that's allowing you to start to feel something new is coming. Uranus is going to bring something out of nowhere. And when I say that, I feel like Uranus's last few degrees in Taurus are going to be more powerful than any of the ones that we felt before. I don't know why I feel that. It's just an intuitive hit. And I feel like part of this is a couple things. There is receiving information. There is an opportunity to observe not only your energy, but the feminine receptive energy around you. Men and women all have this energy. There is a teacher here as you exercise independent thought. And instead of looking, potentially, this could represent Saturnian energies in relationship. And then we have the Water Fairy, which is about really more of a receptive energy that comes again from the gut. Now we have Grace and Antoinette offering compassion. And then then there is this Grail Knight, which not only represents seeking the sacred, but it also represents illusion. When we fall in love, romance is very much associated with illusion because we immediately project something onto someone before we know or have experienced who and what they are. So here, I think for my Leos, this week is about sort of looking at this page's energy and offering yourself as well as those around you this sense of compassion, offering the cup of love, having a sense of naivete, maybe even about how you're receiving things around you, and a gentility. I'm going to, pardon me, before I could even get it out, I sneezed. And I also want to offer this because there's something very much about being gentle with yourself. If for some reason you're in a group of friends or you're already in some sort of relationships with others and there's differing opinions, that's what I want to say as well, because these are heightened times for passion. And with Mars and Jupiter conjunct, even though that conjunction is starting to, move away, it's still in a very, very strong place, and it will continue to be throughout the whole coming week. All right, onward and upward. Rare, welcome to our room. So good to see you. I believe you're new here. We like to welcome everybody. All right, here we're going to go on to our Virgos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. For rares, to clarify, for rare, we start with the birthday month, and we are looking at an angel reading and pulling a tarot card for each sign. And earlier we spoke about the transits that are happening this week, which are quite pivotal. And again, I want to mention tomorrow's full moon is I think is teed up to be a wild one. Having the focal point and having it all exact at 27 degrees, which is that Gemini degree, it just feels so illuminating. And having it on the full moon on the day that the DNC starts, I think is just no accident. Well, congratulations. I hope the interview goes well for you if it's a job you want. If it's not a job you want, then I hope you get the job you do want. All right, here we go. On to our Virgos. Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And if this isn't a Virgonian card, I don't know what is. The Hermit rules Saturn. I mean, Saturn is associated with the Hermit, but it's also associated with work. It's associated with a slowdown in some way of assessing things and an illumination coming. We see Father Time sort of represented here. We see a period that may feel a little bit cold. Now we have Venus going through Virgo. And I think, again, I hate to bring it up, but I think people are very focused on their finances, and Venus rules finance and a sense of security, and that sense of security as a result of our work, how we make our money. We've got Venus squaring Mars this week. We've got her in an opposition to Saturn, and we have the trine to Uranus later on in the week. So there may be something that comes later this week that starts to turn things around. And in the meantime, using your focal point, allowing yourself to be like, everything's working out for me. If for some reason something isn't working or something's happening, that feels unsettling, there's an opportunity for an illumination. All right, Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. This is Azure. We have Astera saying to reach for the stars. That's with your mind and with your heart. We have Rochelle, which talks about romance. And then we have Akasha, again, the teacher. Now, Chantal is in the angel's advice position, so I never take that as necessarily a relationship, but rather a reignition of a passion within. We have Azure being joined by the novice, an unstable new beginning, but a beginning where you can use your skills. We have Astera being joined by the love card. We have Chantal being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Oops. And we have Merlin being joined by Akasha. I want to offer this. The major arcana cards have much more weight and power than the minor arcana cards, because the Fool goes through literally the human journey up and down and the various facets of being human. And here, we've just experienced the 8, the Strength card, where there's been a sense of endurance, a sense of fortitude, and having to be gentle with oneself. And now there's the 9 of the Hermit, which is an illumination of some kind, something that has brought me awareness. This full moon could very well be reflecting that. And it could be in regards to Venus going through your first house. And if I remember correctly, Pisces is your 10th house. Because when I start talking and I'm doing intuitive readings, for some reason, I can't just pull that information out. I think it's because I'm more listening to spirit than I am in my calculating brain. Because Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and with what you love. And I don't think that right now, this is not a sexy card. This is a card of isolation. So I think this is an illumination about what you love and how you're spending your days. When I recently, I don't know what's happened when Jupiter moved into Gemini, I just got spendy like nobody's business. Now I just had paid off my credit cards, so it's not been crazy, but there were things I wanted that I said to myself, you're almost 65 years old. When is now? When do you just get that one thing you want? That does, I could get this because it's cheaper, but I really want that. I kind of feel like that might be going on with Virgo, because there's an illumination of something. And I kind of think when you look at the opposition of, especially those that have, Saturn's like at 17 degrees this week. And so if you're middle born Virgo, this could very much be, your sun could be feeling this opposition. Like, things are happening outside of myself. And what if everything goes to, you know what I'm thinking, right? What if everything goes there? And because here Azure is saying, start to reach for the stars with a bigger picture. You Virgo are not like any other Virgo, because you're in this room. You're listening to this material. You know how to process a little bit differently than maybe the human or more human bound Virgo. So this is skill, connecting with the outcome you want without trying to figure out how it's going to happen, because that is the virgin part of Virgo, to go on the journey. If we really think how the wheel works, by the time we get to the Virgo energy, we're taking all our experiences plus our talents from the 5th house and the 2nd house, and we're applying them into the beginning of our career, where we're starting to show people in the outside world how we are of service. So now, being of service to the things you desire, the things that give you a sense of joy and a sense of, oh, wow, life's worth getting up, because that slave mentality within the Virgo energy is not fun. And if it goes too far that direction, it tends to martyr and then get critical. So here, this illumination that you are as important as everybody you're serving, and this is skill without practice. This is an opportunity to actually, things are happening. This is practicing the trust. This is practicing focusing in on what you love and that you deserve it. Now we go to the angel's advice saying that things are imminent. And your job right now, Virgo, is to somewhere stand in this storm between what your heart wants, what your head wants, and this truth somewhere in the middle. And I think that's going to be a theme, because that truth rings back to the Jupiter stuff. Jupiter also rules business, publishing, branding, writing, marketing, and it's going to take a bigger role as the platforms open up and people interact individually and have influence in that Jupiterian way. It also rules money. So I think that here, this is a little bit about, having the courage to be walking through this sort of a human storm and then trusting a bigger picture, because here is the alchemy, justice, and balance. And alchemy is bringing in money. Alchemy is bringing in resources. And the justice part feels as if this is a kasha, that on some level, you as a Virgo being practical and then taking an unusual stance, per se, you could very well be representing down the line a shift, because those that are earthy and those that are very in their head airy can tend to look at what's around them as that's it. But we know through science that everything is moving. It's just what rate, meaning some things seem denser, so they seem solid, but nothing really is. And I know that getting a little out there, but Susie, the forgiveness word is so weird for me because the people in my life, okay, they really don't, they're not forgiving. So let me tell you a quick story about the revisit with my sister, Mercury retrograde, right? So I don't know if some of you might have missed it. My sister told me that she thinks my uncle killed my aunt. I'm sorry if I laugh every time I say that because I think it makes me nervous. But so throughout that one day, she called me and she was going to contact the police and put in a request to talk to an investigator. And so when she called me, I started just to chat about the things that had been going on since I spoke to her last. And she literally said to me, I didn't call to hear about that. I called to ask you, something else. And that reminded me, this is where I'm going with forgiveness, that sometimes, forgiveness isn't the thing. You just have to see somebody's patterns and just be like, okay, surrender. This is why this doesn't really work. Because, there's always some weird, anyway, I hope that made sense for you, Susie, because I like reconciliation, acceptance and surrender, and then trust. Because I'm not very good at forgiveness. Because frankly, after not talking to my sister for almost 7 years, to have her tell me she doesn't care to hear about my 10-year anniversary of working for myself, it was just very telltale. And I say these stories because I know perfectly well she cares so little about my life. She'll never find me on YouTube. And if she does, for some reason, and hears all these bad stories about her, oh well. Sorry. Okay. On to Libra. That's me. It's almost comical, I swear to God, it almost makes me laugh because it's just I'm so focused on moving my story forward and trying to balance myself, my Libra sun, and I also have Mars in Libra. So I'm really want to be brave in my self-reflection and claiming my balance. And it kills me. No, I'm older sister, Queen Leo. I'm the older one. And believe me, I assume the position. All right, Libra. This is kind of funny. The 5 of Swords. Now, this is not an easy energy, okay? Because this guy wins the war, but he doesn't really win anything. Oh, yeah, I absolutely believe we pick our family. I mean, sometimes I wonder I think I was drunk when I was picking sometimes. I wonder if you can get high on the other side because I clearly was in some sort of delusional state. I'm already putting in my order for next time. Okay, this isn't easy, Libra. I'm just going to say it. The key word for this card is contempt. And I kind of feel like, when I look at the card, he's disarmed his enemy. They've turned their back and walked away. And, there is a sense of satisfaction, but there's also a sense of icky about it. That's the way I'm going to put it, because icky is a good word today. Yeah, it's so interesting because I know my sister's and mine's chart, and our nodes are like all locked up, literally. Like we definitely have some stuff. But what I didn't realize is my sister's moon is on my ascendant. And what was the other thing I noticed? Something else that was interesting that I hadn't considered for a while because I haven't really thought about her or the relationship. I use that again, that reconciliation, turning it into a tool. I try to forgive, but it feels so one-sided that it doesn't go in. It doesn't give me any peace. But when I can shift it into a tool, Cause this is what happened was my bio mom called. She has a reverse mortgage. She's a hoarder. She's like the most like mommy dearest woman ever. And she tried to bait me into calling her because she told me she wanted to leave me her house. Okay. And I'm thinking she wants to leave me a trash dump to clean up after she's dead. And I'm like, okay, I sound cold, but it's true. And then she starts going off about my brother-in-law being controlling. So I'm like, okay, evil and other evil, which is the lesser of two evils. And that's why I called my sister. But there was also this sort of reminder that some things just don't change and people have to want to shift. They must see their own imbalance. So all I can do is worry about my balance and not be around people who create imbalance. And this card came up for me personally a lot this week. And I think without knowing it, it's Uranus in Taurus, offering me a liberation of some kind from my family history, another layer of it. All right, Libra, here we go. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I love it's 19 people in the room. I can't help but think the 19th degree is the Libra degree. I see things in such weird ways. I really see everything like in multiple patterns. I never see anything just flat. And I've been like that since I came out of the womb. Okay, Libra, our first angel is Oceana. Our second is Merlina. Then there is Ray, and then we have Archangel Michael. I think because my parents, welcome Millionaire Jay. So good to have you in the room. Yes, we just did Virgo. You just missed it. We're on to Libra rising. I also want, for those of you that are new to the room, I think your moon is super important. I think your moon and your rising are sort of on a par, but I also think the moon might even supersede it because we're emotional creatures and everything we do, whether we realize it or not, is based on an emotion of some kind. So I think my Taurus moon being my first house too, because I'm a late degree Aries rising, I see so much more of the Taurus in me. I'm stubborn as all get up when I think I'm right. Oh, perfect. Then you're right where you're supposed to be. Moon and Libra right here. Okay, Libra, Oceana is being joined by the Wasp. Merlina's being joined by the Mystery card. Sorry if I'm laughing. Ray's being joined by the Truth card. I'm laughing at my stories and then when I see how things come out. Okay, and Archangel Michael is being joined by the Burden card. Okay, I'm going to straight up say it. Thank you, Matthew. Rare, it's so nice to have you in the room. Okay, so this is the thing. Libra, you've got the South Node going through your first house. The South Node is coming up on some interesting conjunctions next month. Not far off. And I think on some level, if we think about 7th house, Aries, North Node, there could very well be where you're starting to feel a sense of, when I say the word individualize myself, I mean, I want to experience something that makes me feel like a boss in my own life or makes me feel excited. And I feel as if potentially that endeavor could be thwarted by that South Node right now, because potentially there's other things that could be coming into play. I don't know. Meaning everyone has their own individual chart. But when I think it's like, I almost feel like when I look at this 5 of Swords, the 5 represents the fixed air of Aquarius. I need to do something for myself. I need to take care of me. Oh, fine. Go ahead. Take care of you. It doesn't matter, my partner or whatever. They're annoyed by me because this Oceana and the Wasp is not easy. That's emotion, and this is being pissed off. Now we have Jupiter and Mars conjunct. And they've been conjunct for a few days. People are cranky and they're willing to argue over it. Like literally, I want everyone to be very mindful on the road. No road rage. Don't engage with the average human in road rage right now. Because Merlina and the Mystery card, it feels Merlina to me is like Merlin in the other deck. There's a sense of balance. What does Libra represent? Balance. And sometimes Libra will go through periods, especially when you're younger, of giving and giving and giving, or being cooperative. And then you keep thinking, when's it my turn? When's it my turn? And there's no turn. And that's where you win and you lose at the same time. Because when you start to claim yourself, other people, even yourself, may be frustrated that people aren't applauding that or supporting it more. This is a choice for balance, is your opportunity. And that south node going through your first house, to me, they talk about it being a point of releasing toxicity. It's a point of like losing the ego, but the ego is where we're edging God out. And the more we have a healthy relationship with ourselves, the more we are healthy in our relationships with others. We also, I just thought of this, the south node is creeping up on the supergalactic center. The supergalactic center is at 2 degrees 22 minutes of Libra. Anybody who has any personal planets within 5 to 12 degrees of that point is very much focused in on the idea of the relationship with self as source. Okay. So you are the apex, you are ground zero. And as you have that healthy relationship with yourself, you take that again into your vibration. So now Spirit is saying for Libra, the truth and stay connected, even if things feel a little funky in this moment. I am holding my finger up because I cut it. So if I seem a little weird with this finger, please note to self. It's just I keep banging it. Because the truth is, this is the most important dynamic for true balance. And we have Archangel Michael encouraging you and protecting you as you make these changes, but it's a bit of a burden. It's a bit of feeling like, I wish others would be more supportive of me. I wish other people, because Libra's all about other people. It's all about your partnerships, your interactions. It could even be professional partnerships or collaborations, anywhere that there's a contract of some kind, something that puts it into a real structure that's based on earthly dynamics. So here, as you hold ground for what you want, initially this week, that focal point, Venus is your ruling planet. She's in an opposition to Saturn. They're both pointing at Jupiter and Mars. It could be a little challenging. Now, this is the other thing. I think that there could be people very, again, I'm not trying to say anything political, but people are very passionate right now about their beliefs, Mars and Jupiter. So you could, bring a perfectly balanced idea into the situation and somebody's like, I hate that. I hate that. And you feel a little, So this week, and I'm going to try to remember that because I'm so impassioned lately. And I'm trying to remember that I'm impassioned about everybody having a voice. There's a child crying in the background right now. She's clearly unhappy. Her parents are dragging her away from the beach, and she's like, I want to be independent. Uranus is about to go retrograde. She's having her childhood history right now. I don't know if you can hear that. Ooh, she must be getting closer. It's getting louder. All right. Are you ready, Scorpio? Let me just say this for my Scorpio rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, especially not to be, anything. Anywhere the moon is where your intuitiveness is. Scorpio is one of the most intuitive signs in the zodiac. And as such, there is really a kind of inner calling. That's your inner child screaming. Maybe mine too, actually. That's funny. All right. She's really not happy. So I'm assuming it's a she. I don't know why. Maybe it's a boy. Stellium and Scorpio, moon and Sag. Ooh, love that. You'll have to hear more, Rare, because there's really cool things in Sagittarius we'll talk about in a second. So Scorpio, most intuitive sign of the zodiac. And I say this because criminals know how to get you. They know where your fears are. They know how to manipulate you. And Scorpio rules criminal behavior. So when Scorpio stands in the light and in the power of their own intuition, they can be the most amazing influence for good or for light or for co-creation is the way I want to put it. And wow, this kid's just not stopping. She's just on fire. That's a Leo child losing her shit. Probably. I mean, it could be. Yeah, it's definitely not a Pisces child right now. But anyway, because I want to offer this for my Scorpios before I pull your tarot card. I really think that trusting your inner gut right now, trusting and nurturing that inner knowing can be so powerful for the future. Okay, here we go. We're going to pull your tarot card for Scorpio rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. This is the card of victory. This is a card of great intuition. It naturally rules the sign of Cancer. It rules victory. We see that the base chakra is blocked by the cement chariot, which infers movement, but there is no movement. So what happens is the duality. And so I think this is victory through your intuitiveness. The charioteer has moons as his part of his armor. The canopy is of stars. His connection to all that is what creates him as such a powerful warrior. So I think that on some, and the major arcana cards are very important. So for Scorpio, we could see that your victory comes from trusting an inner knowing, while the universe is putting things in play to materialize in the physical. Let's see. Our first angel for Scorpio is the end of a life cycle, Caressa. The second is Shanti, the angel of peace and tranquility. We have Xana, the angel of protection. And then we have Azure saying that you're flying high right now. Don't descend into the crowd. Stay where in the stars with what you know in your heart. Okay, Scorpio, Caressa is being joined by the intuitive swan, trusting your intuitive gifts. God bless. Shanti, the angel of peace, and the dragon. Okay, the dragon is all about power and strength. Your power and strength comes from your ability to sit still and to listen to your inner knowing. I want to offer this too, because sometimes that inner knowing is like, I know that I'm going to win whatever this situation is, but right now I don't need to push it. I don't need to get to Scorpio on land. There we go. The queen is joining Xana. Your protection comes, and the solution to whatever is happening, you will receive that. This is a very receptive energy. Okay, and then we have Aurora saying you're flying high right now, and there's the perception card. I really think for my Scorpio, something is going on where this week, and maybe part of it has to do with the full moon, because it is in Aquarius and it is giving us aspects, a focal point to Uranus, and that it could illuminate something, which then brings you into a place where you're like, you know what? I know that this is what's the stimulus coming at me, but I don't know if my innards are resonating with that, because the end of a life cycle, and this would be the end of not trusting your gut, not trusting your intuitiveness, not trusting your ability to evolve into greater levels of co-creation through trusting your gut. Shanti, the angel of peace, comes through. The peace comes through this calmness, but the calmness doesn't feel like it's out here. It feels like it's in here, because the angels are saying, first of all, there's that intuitive knowing, self-nurturing, self-healing moon energy here, Cancer energy. It's actually Cancer energy. The moon is represented by something else, but the queen and this protection angel very much is about sort of, my Mercury is in Scorpio, and so I think scorpionic. And so sometimes I feel like, and I'm ruled by Mars, which is the co-ruler of Scorpio. So I feel like I need to take action. I feel like I know what's happening and I need to, but I've learned recently that sometimes no action is actually the action. And that's been great, because I've actually seen that validated. Because right now, you're flying high right now. Don't descend into action. I think this is about trusting that things are working out for you. And then here is this perception card. And this makes me feel as if something is shifting. And I don't know if it's just your perception, but it may be the perception of others around you. Like they expect you to be one way and then you show up in another way. Avi, welcome to the room. I hope it does break you out, but I want to offer this too, because Uranus will absolutely break up something, and Saturn will bring wisdom with that. That's the crazy thing about Saturn. is that it feels so hard in the beginning. All the malefics feel hard in the beginning, but as we're aware of it, meaning aware of the slowdown, like when Saturn slows something down, I feel like I'm supposed to look a little bit more carefully about where I'm walking. And that's both mentally, physically, emotionally. And that brings back to the perception card. Trusting something inside of yourself way more than you trust what's coming outside of yourself. And that's on every layer of life. This isn't just the media, because the media is skewed with whatever it wants. And I feel like that's getting worse, because I'll tell you, okay, Teri loves General Hospital. Teri watches General Hospital and has for decades. Teri used to be a maniac driving on the highway before VHSs when she couldn't record it to get home in time to watch General Hospital. So now, all of a sudden, after decades, even with the internet, General Hospital stalks me on my feed. I'm noticing more and more everything that I look at or shop stalks me more on my feed. This is Uranus. So as we're mindful of these kind of things, now we can have a more discerning eye. You know, it used to feel like magic. Oh, wow, I wanted to look at those pants and now they're on my feed. I must get them. It must be a sign. It's not a sign. Oh, it's been on since the 60s. The 60s. I'm sure of it, because literally I can remember watching it when I was 5, and I'm born in 1959. Okay, Sagittarius. Here we go. Rare, I think this is your moon. Did you say that's your moon? All right, here we go. The 7 of Swords. This is a very interesting energy because it's about going your own way. It's about we see the caravan. We see it sort of represents the community, and this represents independent thought. When we see the 5, 6, and 7 of the air element of Swords, we're talking about Aquarius energy. Libra was the 5 of Swords. Yes, it was. And now we have the 7 of Swords. What I'm thinking here is that this is very much something about Sagittarius. Again, your ruling planet is Jupiter. Jupiter is technically conjunct Mars and has been for a few days. Now they're going to go, Mars is moving past Jupiter, but this is very much on some level about being brave in your willingness to go into new areas of belief or to expand in some way. This is a really beautiful transit of Jupiter and Mars together in Gemini to open up my mind. But again, it's having an awareness of the opportunity versus falling into the unconscious patterns, which could create frustration and expand that. So you may find that your thinking is very Uranian right now. It may be like looking to the future and like, hey, how will we get here if we can't get past this obstacle, or da 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 da. And others may be like, but this is what's going on. So there's an independence. And I think the 7 also is reminiscent of that Libra energy. So while this is Aquarius and it represents an Aquarian dynamic, the 7 is about balance. The 7th house, the number 7 represents sort of looking at things from the air, an intellectual way. So let's look. What do the angels have to say? I'm telling you, it is a push-pull right now. But I think on some level, as we go into our gut more versus defaulting to maybe, what has been historically or what makes for, I almost feel like if we default to being homogenized in some way, there's long-term ramifications for that. Pluto moving into Aquarius is going to call us all to be more independent thinkers, to think to the future, to be innovative, and on some level to rebel against that which represses and holds down. I don't know if y'all know this, because I didn't know this for a long time. Uranus is actually Saturn's dad. And I think y'all know that Saturn killed Uranus or whatever. Okay, here we go. Athena is about lovingly asserting yourself. Shanti is about a sense of peace. We just saw this in the previous reading. We have Yvonne. There's a sense of vulnerability here. And then we have Desiree saying the conditions are heightened. All right, Sagittarius, Athena is being joined by the eagle, the connection to the angelic realm. This eagle is very Jupiterian to me. So there's a potential for really fun things. We have Shanti being joined by the hawk. We have Yvonne being joined by the king. And then we have Desiree being joined by the bee. Okay. So this very much kind of represents a potential for you to have a different experience than you've had before. You know, Jupiter overall rules foreign travel, foreign people, foreign places. It rules publishing. It rules the judicial system. It rules religion. I think this is independent thought. Yes, Saturn was a Titan. Absolutely. Here, I think that this independent thought is also in some ways connected to the idea of standing in the integrity. Here's the eagle. Now let's think about the eagle. It's a majestic air element. That sight is amazing. And as you lovingly assert that independent thought, so this would be maybe not jumping up, but using your, you know, I think that I often think, Sagittarius is like a Canadians for me. Every Canadian I've ever met has been a pretty nice and good communicator. They know how to be like very open, because where I'm going with this is for my Sagittarius is this is expansive thought and your willingness to be open in how you assert yourself, but not about just, how can I say this? Whatever it is that you believe, that you have had an epiphany about, that makes you want to move away from the crowd, I think your connection to spirit and a sense of integrity will follow. And as you lovingly assert that sense of integrity and connection to spirit, you're going to feel a sense of inner peace, and you're going to start to see signs and omens that things are coming into play. And when I say into play, that things are coming, I believe we're walking through divine disruption right now. And without that disruption, old systems that are actually broken and don't fuel balance and harmony and peace would not be able to be implemented. So now I really believe that this king is representing things pertaining to outside influences like the law, Saturn retrograde, squaring Jupiter, opposing Venus. And here this is about being vulnerable. It's also about sort of trusting your inner being. Yvonne traditionally in this deck is about, having a bond with animals. I don't think of it that way. I've never been a human mom. I've always been an animal mom. Plus, I believe that it takes a different kind of communication with an animal. You communicate from an energy versus words, because I think that there's victory to be had, but right now the conditions will not be seen. They will only be felt through your being energy. This whole spread, every card has, well, obviously the angels have wings, but all in the other deck, the eagle, the hawk, and the bee all have wings. So sort of standing above something, allowing yourself independent thought, asserting yourself, maybe even to yourself, and then being trusting of a bigger picture is happening. And I think that these are in layers, everybody. I don't think that while we are walking through a very historic political arena, for lack of a better term, there are things happening in our personal lives that are mimicking that same dynamic, that same, sense of, within our individual lives, a sense of potential balance coming through as we trust an inner knowing versus an outer validation. And that is so Pluto moving back into Aquarius in November and spending the next 20 years there. In 20 years, people will be held accountable much more for their thinking, and people feeling sorry for the victim, I'm not sure will work as the same, because people will be saying, well, if you keep thinking that way, that's how it happens. And I'm not saying everything is your fault, because everything's a co-creation. All right. On to our Capricorns, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your tarot card is dramatic. And you know why? Because the last degrees of Capricorn are getting a visit from Pluto. So here we have drama. Very, very, this is a mutable air. So we're looking at Gemini air. We're looking at very much the Okay, so your ruling planet is retrograde in Pisces. But again, the focal point of a T-square to Jupiter and Mars in Gemini. This rules Gemini. The neighborhood could be very dramatic. I do think that, oh, that's nice to have your dog as a Capricorn. Be a good boy or girl. I want to offer this for my Capricorns because government is on the docket. Looking at, hey, just call me C, welcome in. Just looking at, everything right now is even countries outside of ourselves are looking to the United States as to what's going on right now. Your house rules government. It rules authority. It rules that trickle down stuff. It's leadership. It's ambition. It's drive. And here, it's a dramatic week. I think the full moon at 27 degrees of Aquarius, making a beeline for Uranus, is really illuminating something out of nowhere, something liberating, something maybe even feeling a bit rebellious. And this 10 could feel like, or this 10 of Swords could feel for you as if you're just exhausted. Let's see where we're going, because I need to know if this is happening to you or with you or outside of you, around you, because the drama may not be you. It could definitely be someone else. But with Pluto hovering in those, literally Pluto is at 0 degrees right now. It's been making this transit yod to, first it was Mercury, then it was Venus, then it was the Sun. And when Mercury goes direct at the end of the month, it'll happen again. All right. Capricorn, the first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace and tranquility. We've seen this now third time in a row. So we all have to bring in our own mental peace. We have Sonia, the angel of your deceased loved ones, that represents them wishing you well from the other side. We have Seraphina, a happy change to your family, and Isaiah is offering new beginnings and that you're being protected. Let's see if this Sonia could be your team wanting to connect this week. One of the things that I personally, as an intuitive astrologer, and how I interpret Saturn's transit through Pisces, is being really enduring and diligent and responsible in my connection to my team, into knowing that this is how I co-create first, by saying to Spirit, this is what I'd like to experience. And now I sit back in reception and I measure where my believability is within myself. Shanti, the angel of peace, is being joined by the Plutonian birth and rebirth card. We have Sonia being joined by the dog, loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love. We have Seraphina being joined by the risk card. And we have Isaiah being joined by the letting go card. This is so interesting because Capricorn has been going through, North Node in Capricorn. Good to know. Good to know. This dynamic here is very much feeling like you potentially have gone through the ringer. You, as a Capricorn, have experienced Pluto in your first house. It's been a series of ups and downs. Many of it could be that, people could literally pass away, but also they could feel like things have been blown out of proportion. Now your rebirth comes from your ability to, I'm sorry, I missed that commercial. I've been trying to skip them for you. Your ability to sense peace through the rebirth, to know that what is on the other side is more clarity. There's more sense of connection with your intuitive knowing. I think that Sonia is representing your team, and that telling them that you're very much loved at this time. And as you go through whatever, because I think that this 10 is really representing a lot of drama in thought. I think that people are going to get more impassioned again about their views about everything, and they're going to be a little bit unaware of how they're showing up, that they're maybe overly, vigorous. Because Seraphina is offering a happy change, and the risk is staying connected to spirit during the divine disruption. And here we have a new beginning of letting go of fear for Capricorn, which is so important, because the fear is actually, we'll never not experience fear in as a human, but the transformation of fear being paralyzing into being actually motivating, and knowing that if I'm going to feel exhilarated, if I'm going to feel a sense of accomplishment and co-creation, I have to be scared. Probably there's a very good chance of that, if I'm supposed to push myself out. So what I think is that the outside world may be very dramatic around you, may feel a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and at the same time, your inner peace will keep you on, pointed towards your true north, and that could potentially represent more than you realize down the line. Sun Love, I would probably want to see your chart and see what was happening in your house of Pisces, and where Venus is in feminine friendships. I have my Chiron in Aquarius, and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens when my groups of friends and friends in general, as Aquarius and the 11th house rules friends. So, because the water signs are very emotional and very intuitive, and when they're out of balance, they tend to kind of go to the darker side. If you think about the darker side of Pisces, it's where you feel invisible and you don't feel important. And if that's in some sort of lesson, it could be that you represent what they want to be versus what they feel they really are. So, okay. Oh, rare. It's so good to see that. Okay, so we're going to go on to our Aquariuses now, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's see where we're going. I heard an interesting thing from one of my clients, the same client that referred the grounding sheet, which I now will forever be indebted to him for, because I feel like a new woman after sleeping on it for 4 nights, at least 7 hours laying on my back because I love sleep. But, oh dear God, I just forgot what I was going to say. I was talking about my client. We're going on to Aquarius. What was I going to say? I don't know. It slipped my brain. All right, here we go. Oh, Aquarius, this is being stuck. Literally having resources and holding on to them a little too tightly is a very big sense of fear attached to this, that there will not be enough. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So your ruling, I shouldn't say your ruling planet. Well, it is. Uranus is your ruling planet, but Pluto is going to move into your first house for 20 years, and it's going to change who you are to your core. And I want to offer this because when Uranus went through my first house, I wasn't studying or doing astrology at the time. Thank you, God, because I might have freaked out, because I just shifted gears. I said Uranus, and I meant Uranus, and I was also talking about Pluto. Let me try to be more clear. Uranus is going to bring something unexpected, no doubt. Pluto in your first house is going to change how you see everything. And if for some reason you become more aware of your intuitiveness, Pluto ruling that intuitiveness of Scorpio, this could be very powerful for you, because it could transform things in a way that brings so much more bounty than you would imagine. Recently, Taylor Swift, as an example, has Venus, the planet of money. We won't talk about friends, just money or relationships, at 1 degree of Aquarius. As Pluto transited over that early degree of Aquarius, she was named a billionaire by Time magazine. This is Pluto at its highest level. So I say this because if you're starting to think, I'm listening to too much news telling me that we're about to go to hell in a handbag, because there's a lot going on about inflation. I'll tell you, I went to buy my cocoa powder the other day. Last time I bought it, it was $10.99. It was about a month and a half ago, and now it's $14.99. This is ridiculous, people. This is Venus opposing Saturn right now. And your ruling planet is the focal point of the full moon. Isn't it ridiculous? I mean, I've never seen anything, honestly. It's so jarring to me. It's like assault after assault after assault. It's not just once and it kind of calms down. It's so bad. All right. So Archangel Raphael is offering an epiphany and a healing. Rochelle is saying to follow your heart. We have Layla spending time in nature, talking to God and the angels, and Aurora saying you're flying high right now. I want to offer this. Yeah, really, me neither. Because if I don't get my little mixture in the morning, I'm not the same person. But let me offer this. No matter what is going on in the world, in the earthly realm, no matter what country you're in, there are dynamics. One who is connected to source energy is more powerful than millions who are not, millions of people and millions of dollars. Here, I think this is a real opportunity somehow to be unstuck by starting to recognize that as I connect to source energy and I invite in my flow, I like the word flow, not abundance, because abundance has a weird trigger, because somewhere it'll hit your limit and you'll review your limit. If you say flow, it sort of neutralizes that limit. Okay. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the deer. We have Rochelle being joined by the Queen. We have Layla being joined by the Transformational Death card. And then we have Aurora being joined by the Perception card. I think somehow for my Aquariuses, this full moon is going to bring, and I did a separate video if you want to check that out, but I think that there's something about gentleness and diplomacy as you have some sort of epiphany. And the epiphany may be that you're starting to drink the Kool-Aid of scarcity or getting nervous about things. That's the one challenging side about the very innovative Aquarius, is that it rules the nervous system and it rules anxiety and it rules that sense of feeling exiled. And I want to offer it this way because the anxiety is it usually is when I'm rubbing up against the collective stream of thought. And if that collective stream of thought is inadvertently bunching me up, then being gentle and diplomatic as spirit brings some sort of epiphany, an idea. And that idea is that you will receive everything that you need as you continue to follow your heart. Whoever invented anything probably looked like a wackadoo before they started. Can you imagine what the first time that a plane took flight, Orville Redenbacher? You know who I mean, Orville and Wilbur Wright. Sorry, I just product of my boomer. I just went into the popcorn world. Okay, because people seem crazy, So when they were all gathering to see this flight, they're like, these guys are nuts. This is never going to happen. That's Uranus. There is a part of you that gets to surrender to that you're so futuristic that you can do nothing but follow your heart, and everything you need will be received. And this is really offering a huge transformation. And I want to offer it this way because the death card is a 46, which reduces down to a 10. So it always resonates with me that my thoughts are things. The things I focus on is what brings in bounty or the lack thereof. Because now we have the perception card and Aurora saying you're flying high right now. Don't listen to other people tell you how poor you're going to be, because that's their vibration. It doesn't have to be your vibration. And I really do think that money is a huge issue this week. That Venus is so in Virgo. She's not resonating as sexy partnerships to me. She's not resonating as, oh, I'm so beautiful. She's resonating as, where's my freaking money? And how is it going to stay secure? Orville Redenbacher. I'm so sorry. I'm a goofball sometimes. And I catch myself at least. This is where I know my brain isn't losing it. It's just I think my mouth doesn't move as fast as my brain. And it used to run a lot more without any consciousness at all. Okay, we're onward to our Pisces. Good to see you, Audacity Theater. Okay. Here we go, on to our Pisces rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Teamwork. Mars in Capricorn. I often think of this kid as a master. He's somehow taking the ideas that these two other characters have, and he's implementing them. It's unknown as to whether he is an apprentice or not, but I just don't see it that way. For some reason, I feel like, here's my plan. Will you put it up on the wall for me? So let's see where we're going. Mars in Capricorn is exalted. Mars is also in play this week. Saturn is in your first house, making a square. It's actually a T-square because Saturn is in opposition to Venus, and Venus and Saturn are squaring Jupiter in Sagittarius. I'm sorry, Jupiter and Mars in Gemini. So money, money, money. Jupiter rules money, Venus rules money, Mars rules pissed offness, Saturn rules restriction. On a mundane level, we all see it. We all know it. Oh, Destiny Theater, you're so amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Sending so much love and abundance to you. Okay, here we go. Pisces, our first angel is Akasha, the spiritual teacher. Then we have Maya, another angel of schooling and education. We have Francesca. Will you visualize what you want, or will you visualize negativity? And then we have Sonia, the connection to your team. Your heavenly hosts, your guides, your angels, those that watch over you, those that sit outside of the physical experience and hold a knowing for you. Maybe that's what they want you to be, in cooperation with them during this time. Akasha is being joined by the ego, which is the connection to the angelic realm. Okay, here we go. Maya is being joined by the Earth Fairy. Francesca is being joined by the Grail Knight. And Sonia is being joined by the Spider. I want to offer this because I really do think somehow that, this is the challenging thing. Saturn goes into your first house and starts to repress everything, limit everything, make it feel like, oh my God, if I didn't already feel a bit invisible, now I really do. But I don't think that's what the point is. I think the point is to actually come into a relationship, a working relationship with your guides and your angels. I really think that moving forward, I've been kind of talking about this for the last few weeks. Whenever you're in the shower, taking a bath, however you clean yourself, is a great time to start to talk to spirit. Lots of us get busy in our days and we don't have time to meditate. And I think this is intention setting, because here, this is Akasha is the counselor, and here is the connection to spirit. And of all the signs, you're the one that wants to escape into your bedroom, or escape through, drugs and alcohol, because the world's a mad, mad place and it's just too much for your sensitivity. So here, you have an opportunity to connect with your team so you can anchor in. And I think that's what Saturn is offering you in your first house, creating a strong structure and foundation with your team on a daily basis. Every night before I go to bed, I don't know why I do this. I look around my apartment, I make sure the stove is off and the refrigerator is shut. And then I just thank my apartment for being so cute and so loving. And then I get in my bed and I thank my bed for being so cozy. And now I have this new sheet. It's even better, because that awareness can start to bring in other experiences that will supersede other people's experiences. Because here's Maya talking about schooling and education, and this feels as if it's offering you an education within your spirituality and anchoring it into the earth plane. Francesca is saying to visualize what is sacred to you, what is most important to you. Be mindful and connect with your team about that, because here's Sonia offering you a tighter relationship. And once that relationship is anchored in, there's a sense of security. I have this last week, I've been very politically focused, listening to all sorts of things that I feel to inform myself, to be my Libra self, to look at everything and then go in to figure out where it's all going to fall. What I did experience with certain people is that as they started to project financial burden, oh no, things are so, as they started, this is not you, but that energy, I rejected it immediately. I'm like, no, that's not my vibration. And that's something I think is very important for Pisces right now, is sort of making your team, your heavenly hosts, working with them closely. so that you can start to implement your inspirations and your divinity on this planet, and thereby kind of isolating and insulating yourself from average experiences, meaning, everybody in the office gets laid off, but you don't, and nobody knows why you didn't, but you need that job, and you want that job, so you've been focused on that job. Whatever your dynamic is, Pisces, this is sort of a sort of a fork in the road for you, honestly. Again, here we've got your first house in an opposition to your sixth house or seventh house. I'm sorry, depending, seventh house, professional partnerships potentially being a sense of I just want to go to money with that for some reason. All right, let's go to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. So good. So nice to see everyone in the room. Lots of familiar faces, lots of new faces. We love everybody. They say they're going to do conservative ads, and every 2 minutes I'm having, what is non-conservative ads? If I'm hitting the skip button every 2 seconds, I don't understand. All right, here we go. Aries, the self-made human. And I want to offer this because there's so many layers to this. Aries already is focused on the self. The North Node is in Aries right now. So your first house is lit up with wanting to have this, ravenous energy of birthing an independent version of yourself. You also have Chiron transiting that first house, stoking any trepidation, worry, wound, and it's also up for renovation. Here we see the renovated version. This woman understands a lot of what she's walked through. We see that evidenced by the snail. It's taken her some time. We see the hood on this winged creature. I always sort of think of it as a falcon. I don't know why, because it's rather small, but I feel as if the red hood indicates this dynamic between the wings of the animal seeing above, the red of the base chakra, the fight flight, the security insecurity. We also see a lot of Venus represented here in the robe, and a lot about money. That's a big one this week. I really think so. So it might be about a lot of conversations about inflation, about money, about the flow of money, or lack thereof. Our first angel for Aries is Akasha the teacher. Again, we have Francesca asking what we'll visualize on. Ariel is a connection to spirit. And Archangel Gabriel is here about self-talk. We have the butterfly joining Akasha. We have the spider joining Francesca. We have Ariel being joined by the eagle. And then we have the cat. I want to offer this for my Aries because your ruling planet Mars is in this T-square. And it's interesting to me because I almost feel as if there's this awareness with my Aries. Like there's sort of this, I'm never going to make Aries always a warrior. I'm never going to make Mars always hot and angry, although it's capable of that. But where's the evolved version of these planets? This represents the evolved version for Aries. Look at all the red in her robe representing the Aries. The underbelly of her robe is red. Her hat is red. The bird's hood is red. She's acutely aware of her financial needs, of what makes her feel fear, of what makes her feel hot, and yet she's calm because she has a sense of self, a sense of her own creation. Here, Akasha is the spiritual teacher offering you a blossoming. I will tell you that as Pluto squares Aquarius, it's going to hit my dang Mars and not near my sun again, but my ascendant. So I have a 23-degree Libra sun, 27-degree Mars in Libra, and a 26-degree Aries rising. Pluto's been squaring me for years. This has been a fork in the road, offering me an ability to either hang on to my anger and frustration, even though it's justified, is it working for me? Or I can transform it. Akasha, the teacher, is offering transformation. The butterfly, while it represents beauty, it's beauty through trauma. That poor caterpillar, as it's gorging itself on that little twig, doesn't realize it's about to release an enzyme that's going to completely disintegrate itself and then be reborn. And here's the spider. And I think this is really starting to get the picture that negativity doesn't work for me. Being hot, being angry doesn't work for me. I absolutely believe that in 2022, 2023, when Mars spent 7 months in Gemini, he became aware of how he interacts, how he speaks, how he thinks. And in doing so, he's never going to change his imprint, but he can have more intention. He can have more awareness. So he knows when to be strong and when not to be strong, or at least the awareness that these feelings are coming up. So here we have in the angel's advice your connection to spirit, both represented by the eagle and represented by Ariel, changing the way you view yourself, making you aware of what could potentially get you going, but you're not actually going there. There's a weird feeling of isolation with this energy. Like this woman had to do everything on her own, or this Aries energy has to do everything on his own. But Aries is pre-wired for that, pre-wired to pioneer, because here's this cat offering a sense of independence and healthy boundaries. And this is my self-talk. Archangel Gabriel is talking about, communications, about literally turning over insecurities to spirit. And I think on some level here, what we're talking about is the awareness of that. When Mars and Jupiter are conjunct, people will fight for their beliefs. They'll fight for, how they want to communicate and what they believe about their ability to communicate freely. We always want to remember that Gemini, that's this primary energy of exchange of ideas. So here, I think there's a blossoming being offered. I think that there is this anchoring in of an awareness of when I go down the unconscious reactive path versus being brave to go in the more methodical path. When we think about Saturn squaring Mars, we're saying Mars wants to move fast. It's in Gemini, wants to move fast. Saturn's slowing it down. It's slowing it down to say, are you basing everything on your spiritual concepts before you take action? Your spiritual house of the mind. We'll see. Okay, we're going on to Taurus. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. We had an earthquake here this week too. So Uranus brought unexpected weird stuff as it squares Mercury, my sibling. It brought an earthquake. What other weird crap happened this week? I felt like I had a bunch of weird stories to tell you guys. Oh well. Are you ready, Taurus? It's all about you. And new inspirations are coming, new passions. Oh no, Queen Leo, you've got to look for the sheets. You got to find the grounding sheets. The mats, laying on them all night, I think is the key. Okay, Ace of Wands, passion, new ideas, new inspirations, a new sense of fire. Let's look, Taurus. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Michael. The second is Rochelle. The third is Chantal. Oh ho ho. And the final is Maya. Oh no, small. Was that for you? Potentially had a opportunity to expand and then it went. All right, here we go. Archangel Michael is being joined by the bear. First time we've seen this week. Now we have the joy card. Wow, Taurus. Okay, Chantal's being joined by the stag and Maya's being joined by the owl. Oh, well, that's a shame. Saturn in your 10th house. All right. Leo rising. So Taurus is your 10th house, Avi. I hope I'm saying that right. Well, that's cool. Chiron, that's generational, and your sun. Okay. All right, here we go. Archangel Michael, Taurus, And there's my history, my history of the Baird. It's also the enchantment of storytelling. And I want to offer this because as a Taurus moon, the greatest transformation I ever you can really made was to start to recognize that spirit was using my story and my history as intuitive clues. It's almost as if when I started doing my readings, spirit started to bring people and situations, and when I started to trust that there was some sort of alignment, and I let that out, I became more accurate, for lack of a better term. So somewhere for my Tauruses, there's something about being brave and being protected as you transform your history. Well, what's going to happen tomorrow is a full moon, and it's pointed directly at Uranus in your first house. Liberation, potentially a bit of rebellion. It's also genius. And sometimes that genius is recognizing that if I hadn't walked through that obstacle, I wouldn't have created this opportunity. And that could be the brilliance and what leads you to new passions. I think Uranus walking through Taurus is hard because Taurus wants to hang in tradition and what it's familiar with. And Uranus is like, let's go new places. Let's go places where we don't even know if we can breathe the air. And now here we have this following your joy. And I really think on some level, this is the new frontier for Taurus, is following your joy, trusting your passions, allowing yourself to feel. This is Rochelle saying that as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you. The joy card is a 37, which reduces down to a 10. That's the awareness of the ace, new ideas, new thoughts, new potentials. Here we have Chantal and then leadership. I think this is standing up for what you love, for what you want, for what the new story is, the new thing you're telling. Because in the final position is Maya, and Maya is about schooling and education. And then we see the owl. The owl represents two sides of a story, deception and wisdom. But more than that, it represents clarity. That's this full moon. And I think the clarity comes from Taurus recognizing somewhere, if I keep telling the old story, I can't start to live the new story. So rather than going to the old story, I'm going to start to tell a new story. Everything's always working out for me. The money I need comes to me easily and often. I'm enjoying things with less effort. And sometimes I think that effort is looking at what you need to do and be responsible for. Okay. Bye, Sun Love. I hope we see you again sometime. Sending lots of love to you. Okay. On to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Got 2 more signs to go, and we'll be done for the day or the week. All right. All right, Gemini. Not an easy card. This is the 8 of Swords. It's Gemini. There's too many choices. This woman has so many choices. She doesn't quite know what to do. She doesn't feel balanced. She feels a little tethered within all of this. So let's see where we're going. When I say tethered, I mean like she doesn't have choices within all of those choices. She's like trapped. Maybe there's too many possibilities, too many directions to go. And when there's too many directions in your brain, that's when you go down to your heart chakra. You're like, okay, what does my heart really want? And we see Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right for a new adventure. Archangel Raphael is offering an epiphany that brings something into your awareness. Daniel, the angel of marriage, is also the angel of history and relationships. And Esther says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. I'm compelled to tell you, Gemini's, a story as I shuffle. Now, Gemini first house. I'm not starting the story yet. You've got Jupiter and you've got Mars traveling through your first house right now. And this could very well be pissed off because you're not letting me expand. There was a time when I was so like I had a job with the worst boss ever. He was like so pretty on the outside and so freaking ugly and mean and nasty on the inside. He was always huffing and puffing and wanting to blow the house down. And I wanted to do anything to get away from him. I mean, I was going on job interviews for jobs I wouldn't have gone. I mean, I practically was going to the toll road. I was so desperate to get out of from underneath him. I did this for 6 months. I could manifest the interview, but I couldn't get the job. Now, the challenge was I was turning way left to get away from this hot, angry man. It wasn't until I stopped and said to Spirit, oh, dear God, what is going on? And Spirit said, just quit. You're going the wrong. And when I quit within moments, I had a new job that was more aligned to where I was going, that was going to bring me here today. So this is getting out of your head, Gemini, and getting into your heart and starting to see, what really do I want? Yes, the timing is right for you to get out of your head. There's the wind fairy. And maybe even to analyze about, am I working towards what brings me happiness? Am I being authentic to my own self? Because while you have to feed your family and you have to pay your bills, there's also an erosive energy when we're constantly being shoved into a place of not feeling any power. What happened to the sheets? What's going on? Is this the grounding sheet? I'm lost. You can't find it on the Zon? It should be there. Okay. Sorry, Gemini. I shouldn't interrupt. I just got caught in the chat. Daniel, this is all about focus. You know, this is the problem with Gemini. You have too much information sometimes, too many things to contemplate, too many sources coming at you. And now it's time to pull back and come from your heart. That must be what's going on here. There's the High Priestess going into your soul's knowing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I bought them on Amazon. That's why I keep calling it the Zon. Asteras, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, and the High Priestess is your soul, your ability to discern, your ability to get out of your head and into a deeper knowing. Yes, the timing is right to get out of your head. Jupiter rules the connection to the angelic realm. It rules new concepts and philosophies, diversity, looking beyond that which is to something that potentials that you haven't discovered before. Here, I think that potential lies within your heart. I think when you go into your heart and you start to say, wow, what if I just focused in on how it would feel? How would it feel? Oh, that would be so much fun. And then little experiences could start to come in. There's too much focus on the previous story. I know there's so many things I wish we could do in the live, like pull up the chart of the week so I can show you what I'm talking about. But, you know, the lives here aren't designed that way. And if they are, I don't know how to do it. All right, we're moving on to our Cancers, our final sign of the day. I could show you my phone. Let me get my phone. Hold on a second. I have a picture on my phone. Because I think everybody, like honestly, I've never had anything so dramatic for my body as this grounding sheet. And I don't know if it's the best grounding sheet, but boy, it works for me. Okay. So this is what it's called. Let me see if I can. Okay. Can you see it? That's the first one. Everybody take a look. Then let me go to the second picture. And it's by, oops. Let me see if I can show. I don't know if this is, will come up. Can you see the brand name right there? It's CUAZCCS. Quick, let me skip that ad. Okay, did you get it? No, you have to Google grounding bed sheet. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. We are on to our final sign, which is Cancer. And I just love all of you for letting me be very interruptive today. I have a lot of interruptive energy going on in my chart. Uranus is going to start squaring my Uranus again. God bless my chart. Okay, Cancer, here we go. The Wheel of Fortune. Now, this is a really powerful card because there's no character here. The Wheel of Fortune spins around up and down. But if we look at the top of the Sphinx, he's holding the sword. There's an inference through I can't remember what this Egyptian headwear is called, but the black and white is contrast. The way to stay on top of the wheel is to be mindful of your thoughts, and your thoughts are things. And then we have the 10. Queen Leo, I can't wait for y'all. If y'all get it, you better tell me in the chat how great you feel. Because I'm telling you, this is the bomb. And I'm thinking it's only going to get better as I do it every night and I sleep on it. I might get a second one because that way I can rotate them. Okay. Cancer, our first angel is Mystique. Keep charging ahead. Expect miracles. Opal is saying that your children are well and cared for by God and the angels. Archangel Gabriel is talking about your self-talk. And Crystal saying have faith and hope. There's something more on the horizon that you can't see. That could be the wheel is in flux now because Mystique infers a process. And if we think about it, Pluto has been opposing your house, it's been in your 7th house, opposing your 1st house. And really, wherever Pluto goes, it's going to remove the toxic waste. And most of, a lot of human experiences are riddled with toxic waste. Okay. Mystique is being joined by the Truth card. The truth is coming for you. Opal's being joined by the Grail Knight, seeking the sacred. Some illusion will be removed. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the horse. That's the monkey mind, Mercury and Jupiter together. So somewhere you're going to feel a sense of, the 4th house rules patriotism. It rules the country of your origins and the feelings you have about that. So here, something is coming for you, meaning this. The Wheel of Fortune is working for you. It's bringing out a deeper truth within yourself and maybe even out within in your experience, because Crystal's saying have faith and hope. And then we have the Baird referring to history. I think this is a really big week. I really do. Between this crazy 27 degree, which is the Gemini degree, the master Gemini degree of thought, the full moon's illuminating something pointing at Uranus. So it's going to bring up something. And that's to liberate us from something that's restraining us. And then we have this keep charging ahead. The truth is coming. And that truth is in your heart. And I think that truth is also that you're a child of God. And as a child of God, when you're being protected as we go through these challenging times of deciphering and discerning between the broader concepts that Jupiter has to offer us and the monkey mind that Uranus has to offer. Mercury has to offer us, because Uranus and Mercury are growing in a square. And that very much is happening in the background of the T-square from Saturn and Venus to Jupiter and Mars in Gemini. Because having faith, our history is being rewritten. And now this is the enchantment of storytelling, telling the new story. And here, Crystal's saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon. So I want to offer it this way. Some of the most amazing times in history that we revere and we look at as things that were good were very disruptive at the time. The Revolutionary War, the American Revolutionary War was disruptive. The Civil War was without a doubt disruptive. So right now, we are going through some historic times that are disruptive. They're breaking down the old Saturnian things. Pluto's doing that in Capricorn. As Pluto re-enters Capricorn, that's going to become so prevalent and so obvious to us, because it's literally revisiting Capricorn from September 1st until November 19th. November 19th, it will move back into Aquarius. So those old structures are going to be in the forefront for my Cancers, holding faith, representing the house that rules healing and nurturing, and the very bottom of the Zodiac, that holds up the whole kit and caboodle. It's also on some level it's your opportunity to see that everything is secular, and the truth is coming out from, out from the dark and into the light. And now, as you hold sacred, you are a child of God. As you move away from potentially the crowd in thought and feel a higher calling into your thoughts and your hopes and your dreams and your wants and your desires, because this is the enchantment of storytelling. And here, Crystal is absolutely offering a new beginning of some kind that is better than what we can see with our eyes, but we can feel it with our heart. All right, everybody. Big week. I think Jupiter and Mars' focal point is pretty significant. Again, this is sort of this, very willing to stand up and fight for my beliefs. Be mindful. Be really careful on the highways, guys, because just remember, you may be conscious, but that doesn't mean the people around you are. And in that consciousness, you're isolated because you have, or insulated from problem because you have choice in the matter. And sometimes choice is just stepping away, not engaging, recognizing that your peace of mind is more important sometimes than going to battle. All right, everybody, we'll be back next week. And we'll see what has transpired over this week. I want to thank everybody. You're so awesome. Look, you found it. You're so amazing. You found for $69. I wonder if mine was a little bit more than that. I'm not sure if that's the exact one I got. Again, I'm going to tell you. Small, will you type this into the chat for me? I'm going to give you the brand. It's C as in cat, U as in umbrella, A as in apple, Z as in zebra, C as in cat, C as in cat, S as in Sam. Did you all get that? This is organic. Got it. This is a silver fiber grounding fitted sheet. I think it comes in a queen and a king, and it's over 100. It's like 129 and 139, something like that. Well worth. Your body will love you for it. I'm telling you. And if you don't love it, I'd just be shocked. Okay, that's it for me, everybody. Love you so much. We had a great room today again. I'm feeling our mojo. I'm feeling our rhythm. I'm feeling our momentum. I want to send love to everybody. I pray for you guys every night before I go to bed, sending the group lots of love and lots of wisdom and good tidings. So we will see you. I can't wait to find out how you feel in a week, Queen Leo. Feel free to email me if you want, because I love it when I share things and people feel there, because my body feels so much better. I can't even begin to tell you. My balance even is so much better. Okay, I'm out. I'm going to go get some lunch. I'll see you all next week. Have a fabulous week. Peace out. Love you, Small. Thank you.